Hello, welcome to lesson 3 of aggregate. Our substrand for today is concrete. A recap of what we learned last week. 1. Explain the term coarse aggregate. So when you talk of coarse aggregate is an aggregate which retain on a standard 5 mm sieve. Mention 3 factors to consider when selecting stones. These include: it must be well graded in size, it must be free from impurities, and it must be hard, which is not soluble in water. The third one, state 2 types of stones and their sources each. So 1, we have sandstone, which is mostly obtained from granular earth. 2, we have granite, which is obtained from rock. Then the final question says, outline 4 uses of stones. So some of the uses of stones is being mixed with sand, cement, and water to obtain concrete for producing the following: foundation slabs, columns, beams, lintels, covered, walls, etc. All these are uses of stones. Let's now come to concrete. When we talk of concrete over here, concrete is a mixture of a binding agent, a fine aggregate, coarse aggregate, and appreciable amount of potable water. That is one definition of concrete. Let's look at the second definition of concrete. The second one says it is a mixture of cement, your sand, stones, an appreciable amount of potable water. When all these components are being put together, we obtain concrete. So don't forget, concrete in short is a mixture of your cement, your sand, your stones, and appreciable amount of potable water. The water should be potable. On the other hand, the water should be a drinkable water. Not any ordinary water somewhere, but the water should be what? Potable water. Let's come to concrete mix ratio. Concrete mix ratio. Concrete mixes can be expressed as a volume ratio, which include 1:2:4. This means 1 part of cement, 2 parts of sand, and 4 parts of stones. When we bring this to the side, it simply means 1 headpan of cement, 2 headpans of sand, and 4 headpans of stones. Let's look at another example. 1:1:2, which means 1 part of cement, 1 part of sand, and 2 parts of stones. And when we translate this to site terminology, it also means 1 headpan of cement, 1 headpan of sand, and 2 headpans of stones. Let's continue on with more ratio mix. 1:4:8, which means 1 part of cement, 4 parts of sand, and 8 parts of stones. 2:3:5, 2 parts of cement, 3 parts of sand, and 5 parts of stones. 1:3:6, 1 part of cement, 3 parts of sand, 6 parts of stones. And the last one, 1:5:10. 1 part of cement, 5 parts of sand, and 10 parts of stones. So this is what we consider concrete mix ratio. So whenever you are being given a ratio to express it, don't forget the expression should follow, like the examples we see on our screen. All the time, your cement first, followed by sand, and the last one, stones. Don't mix your component. Don't forget cement first, followed by sand, and finally stones. Let's move on to classifications of concrete. Concrete can be classified into two. One, mass or plain concrete is a type of concrete which, when placed in position, acts like masonry and not subjected to undue bending force. So this is a typical example of a mass or plain concrete. What it means here is that this type of concrete do not contain any iron rod placed in them, and such concretes are mostly difficult to resist load which will be exerted on it. That is why we said they do not subject to undue bending forces. 2. Reinforced concrete is a type of concrete with mast steel bar placed in them. This type of concrete is subjected to due forces. So when you look at this as compared to the very first one, you could note that this is having what we commonly known as iron rods being placed in them. So this kind of concrete is able to resist much load as compared to the mass or the plain concrete. Properties of concrete. Properties of concrete can be put into two categories. One, we have the wet concrete, and two, when the concrete become hard. So let's look at the properties of concrete at its wet stage. One, it must be workable. Two, it should be well mixed. The third one, it should be well compacted. And finally, it must be well cured. So when concrete is wet, these are some of the properties it must have: workable, well mixed, well compacted, and well cured. When concrete is hard, some of its properties include: 1. It should be strong. It should be durable. It should be able to resist friction. And at the same time, the concrete should be impermeable to water. When we say concrete should be impermeable to water, it means that it shouldn't allow water to easily pass through it. It should be able to resist water. So that is what we mean by impermeable to water. Uses of concrete. 1. Concrete is used for making bridges, for making culvert, columns, walling, beams and lintels, concrete slab, gutters and drains, and foundation for building. All these are uses of concrete. Today's assignment. You are to list and explain the two types of concrete. Question number 2. Mention 5 uses of concrete. Question number 3. Explain what is meant by impermeable to water. And the last question, in your own words, explain the term concrete. But do not forget to attach your student ID number to all your assignments before presentation. Next week on our lesson, we will now move on to curing of concrete. Curing of concrete. So if you have any question, any answer, any observation, direct them via email sagacious59@gmail.com, or my WhatsApp number 0240 900 650. This is where we end for today. See you same time next week. Have a blessed day. Bye.